Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of the Geeking Out podcast. I'm the Athletic Geek, and once again, we got the Just Us Marks crew with us, and we're going to do another top 10 list, but this time it is going to be the top 10 matches or moments or whatever in wrestling that we feel could hook a newbie or hook a new fan into pro wrestling. So, uh, the Mark brethren joining me this week is CJ
Yo.
and Easy.
Holla, holla, holla.
Playa. All right. So, without any further ado, let's just start with EZ. What is my list is in chronological order. Your guys' might be different. I'm just gonna warn now. I'm starting with 1 and going to 10, but they're all in.
Oh, okay. Well,
yeah. So everybody else,
last.
everybody else can do theirs with however they want to. But me personally, I did chronological. So, we'll start with your first choice, which might be your number 10.
So
That's
my
not
number 10 is actually very, very, very recently, actually, Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam. This match, honestly, keep in mind, like, this is the first pay-per-view without any creative control with Vince McMahon citing you know what. But anyways, like, if I were to show, like, my friends this, like, be like, this is kind of like, I guess, my third or fourth or whatever wave of trying to follow WWE again. And SummerSlam, I thought, okay, they're finally back in the big stadiums again. And I am low-key excited for the main event. And this exceeded all of my expectations on how fucking amazing the Last Man Standing match was. And also had a tractor. Like a motherfucking tractor. Like, come on. How awesome and badass of Farm Boy Lesnar to bring in a fucking tractor. So, although I feel like they would be confused as, well, why is there third person getting involved in this match? Well, I'm glad you asked that, Austin Theory, because even I don't know why the hell you were trying to get into this match. But still, either way, it is a very fun match. Try to get like the hardcore sanity factor in there that, like, don't, whatever you're thinking this match is going to happen, don't. It's not exactly what you're going to think. I think this was honestly just a great main event. And spoiler alert, may or may not be in our top 10 list later this year as of recording.
Do you feel that maybe like all the interference and maybe the the tractor and the tearing
because...
Yeah, well, I'm saying like you think like they think like, oh wow, that's awesome, and then when they watch Raw or Dynamite or something, you're like, what? Wouldn't you be afraid they'd be like, where's the tractor?
Like, it was a pay-per-view event. Like, a last man standing match is basically just any sort of like Extreme Rules match. It's almost like, trying to knock down your opponent in a boxing match. They have the count of 10 to get up and all that. Like, again, this is like an extreme, hardcore match from a rivalry that's, when we think back, it is definitely, one of the best rivalries of that decade or so. But again, it's just like one of those, fun little hardcore matches that just went everywhere. And even though Roman won, the better champ won because he had his bloodline in him.
All right. Yeah, so my only concern with that one, just from my perspective, would be, as cool as that is, maybe a new fan, when they're not seeing tractors and rings getting torn up, maybe they'd be like, oh, this is boring now. That'd be like my only one concern about showing that to a new fan. But still not a bad choice. CJ, what about you?
So I'll go ahead and I'll be the same, and I'll start with my 10. Not necessarily in a numerical order, but the one that I kind of would rate like, well, this might not hook you, but stay with me here, is the Brody Lee tribute show from AEW. We all know about it. We all saw it. I think that it takes some explaining for a newbie, but I think that the heart is the thing that could hook someone. Obviously, it's not a really good show of what wrestling is in total, but I thought that it was an excellent show of heart and compassion and the camaraderie that wrestling fans and wrestlers can have. And I think that that's a highlight to wrestling that a lot of people don't know about, but that a lot of people, especially in this day and age, would find enlightening and nice, to be a part of this group. And I think that this show overall, a lot of mine aren't just one match. I think it takes a story, and so that this show is a good way to hook the heart.
Okay. Yeah, like I said, the only thing that from my perspective, I would maybe think would be an issue would just be somebody going, okay, this is nice, but okay. You know what I mean? But other than that, yeah, I'm with you. So now number 10 or number 1, because this is the minor in chronological order, is Ricky Steamboat versus Randy Savage at WrestleMania 3.
Oh, yes.
And one of the reasons I included this is this is one of the first matches where, or events where the promo montages are a lot more epic now compared to 1987. But this is one where they like actually have like a promo, like a montage of all the different things that happened to lead up to this match, with Savage crushing Steamboat's larynx with the ring bell on Saturday Night's Main Event, and Steamboat like being unable to talk, and it shows him like like just try and talk, and he's trying to get the words out and he can't get it out, and then he comes back, and then they have you know 2 pre-match promos, and then the match itself. I really feel like that, one, it's a good wrestling match, but 2, like there's so much like to kind of give it an atmosphere of like there's the belt's on the line, the history, it became more than just about the belt. It became personal, and you could buy into that story really well with the montage. That's one other thing. I'm just going to worry by now. There's a lot of WWE on this list, because before most of these matches there is a montage where you're like, okay, and a new person that maybe doesn't get it can get hooked in with that 2-3 minute vignette they play before the match, and this one is one of those matches where everything's laid out for you and it might work. The only thing that I think might count against it is because it is so old. And there's a few matches on there where I think like, they might see the production and be like, okay, I can't get into this. This is old. So, yeah. All right, let's go to number 9. Easy.
All right, number 9, we go all the way back to the year 2019 at Double or Nothing. Cody Rhodes versus Dustin Rhodes. We have a lot of incredible brother versus brother matches, whether it was Brett versus Owen or Matt versus Jeff and the Hardys. Cody and Dustin, like, the build up to this is just incredible because, yes, they have possibly fought before in the past, when Dustin was Gold Dust or whatever. This match just had like all the incredible like emotional feelings in a sibling rivalry. And if Dusty was still with us, and if he had saw that match, or he probably was definitely watching from up above, he'd definitely have tears in his eyes just seeing these two just letting this all out. And even though Cody got the upper hand, it wasn't so much like the match itself was what made it memorable. It was the ending. Though everything's all bloodied up. Dustin's in the corner, just wondering, everyone even contemplating, is this the end of his career? The answer was obviously no, it isn't. And Cody at the end just cutting that promo and saying, like, I don't need a partner. I need my brother. Like, that got everybody in tears. Like, come on. Even when I was watching, I was crying, or, well, not really crying, but I was getting like waterworks in the eyes. Like whoever was cutting up the onions beside me, fuck them. But it was perfect. Like that was just the perfect ending. And then those two hugging out. Then everyone is just trying to hold it together. And there's gonna be another moment that Cody had that is gonna be on this list too. But this was just spectacular. You know, this is definitely something to show my friends or like showing my non-wrestling fans to see this and be like, don't necessarily be focused on, you know, all the fighting skills, because both of them are great, but it's the background with what these two have in their, you know, pinnacle history is what makes this match legendary. So, yeah.
Okay. I agree with that one, other than maybe that one did have a montage before it, I believe, right?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
why I said there was a build up to this.
Okay. Yeah, because I mean,
Yeah.
I know this
I
was
said
in the
build up.
this was in
Sorry.
the pre TV days for AEW. So yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Okay, CJ.
Okay. I'm going to jump since you already said it. I'm just going to do a little follow up because Steamboat and Savage from WrestleMania 3 was also on my list. And for a lot of the reasons you said, but also because this is probably one of the most perfect matches in wrestling history. It was Savage at his most perfectionist, and of course, you know, me, if I'm trying to lure in a new fan, I'm trying not to explain that whole backstory to them because that's how my bosses explain getting tied down in numbers, and we're working really hard not to do that anymore. But it was a picture perfect match, and it had all the things behind it before you even got into the match, but the match itself told its own story. They had a fantastic, you know, promo video before, but you didn't necessarily need it to be invested and love the match. So that makes my list as a match in itself.
Okay. My number two, kind of keeping with Ricky Steamboat, is the Flair Steamboat trilogy from 1989. You know, the first one in Chicago. You know, just that is probably, it's just a great wrestling match. You know, which told its own story. There wasn't a montage because the NWA / WCW wasn't really big on that at the time. You know, they just didn't have the
You're telling
production.
me they don't need a montage? Montage? No.
Even Rocky
Even
had a
Rocky had a montage.
montage.
No,
Always
I'm
fade out
talking
in a
about the best
montage.
montage ever from South Park. Is you're gonna need a montage.
Always fade out in a montage. Makes it seem like more time has passed. But anyway, they didn't have that. But you know, the story, if you can watch it, of, you know, what means the most, you know, like what the world title meant to them, you know, and their drive. You know, it was the same but so different. Both wanted to be the best, you know, but Flair wanted to be the best because it meant, you know, he could gloat about it. You know, it meant more limos and more custom made suits and more women and, you know, more you know, private jets. And, you know, Steamboat wanted the belt, you know, to be able to inspire his family and inspire his son that, you know, you can do something with your life, and you can, you know, you can achieve the highest goals. And, um you know, I put all three matches on there, but if, you know, if especially the next one, you know, the second match in the trilogy, which was a draw, if that's too much for a new fan, then just show them the first match, because that in itself is great. But then the second match, you know, Steamboat wins with a roll up. Then they have the second match, which goes to a draw, and then they have the 2 out of 3 falls that would go to judges if it went to a draw. You know, just kind of everything progressed. You know, and then by the end of that whole thing, you know, Flair respected Steamboat. Ric Flair turned over a new leaf by the end of it. So like, you kind of get this, you know, you kind of get like through all three matches, you know, you kind of get, you know, the journey of a hero, and then kind of the the lovable asshole gets, you know, gets redeemed by the end of it in the story. But if that is too much for a new fan, then we'll just go with the very first the Chi-Town Rumble Ricky Steamboat versus Ric Flair match.
Which one's your favorite out of the three?
That one's my favorite. Is the Chi-Town Rumble one.
Really?
Yeah,
Really?
I just really like that. I really like kind of the build up to the match and the whole feel of Steamboat finally getting his moment. That's kind of a big thing for me is the moment of Steamboat. But I'd say probably that one or the 2 out of 3 falls match. The Clash of the Champions draw is great. Don't get me wrong, but
Clash of the Champions wasn't a draw.
I thought it was a draw. Oh no, he was under the ropes. Yeah.
Yeah, Steamboat won.
Steamboat won. Flair was under.
But Flair's foot was under.
Flair was on the rope.
So
Right, it wasn't a draw.
The third match because of it.
Yes, yeah, it wasn't a draw. There was just controversy. That's right.
Yes.
Yep. Yeah, Flair was under the ropes. Well, either way, I still think the Chi-Town Rumble one's the best.
It's okay. I'll share my opinion when it comes up on my list because it's there.
Yes.
Hey-o.
So what is your number 8, Easy?
My number 8. I just lost my list for a moment here. Here it is. Okay, my number 8 is one that's also a little bit shocking why it's a little bit low, and mostly because, well, I didn't really grow up in this era yet, but I still acknowledge how awesome it is. WrestleMania 17, just as we all collectively agreed, is the greatest WrestleMania of all time, and yet shockingly, it's number 8 on matches or just wrestling in general to introduce to friends. This one is like the height and the peak of the Attitude Era. Everything that was so great was in this amazing show at the Astrodome, minus the ending. But anyways, it is still just something phenomenal. Like, this had everything. Like, I'll just point out 3 great matches I liked were the TLC match between Dudley's, Edge and Christian, the Hardys, and especially Edge spearing Hardy in midair, making everyone go, holy crap, or holy shit, whatever. It's just a picture perfect moment that you see that. And I almost thought mistakenly that was at 18, but I was wrong. Which I think they had a similar match at 18, if I'm not mistaken. But anyways, second one, Vince versus Shane. And just my favorite moment, honestly, in that whole match is just Vince bringing Linda McMahon, who may or may not be just under the weather, let's just say that to avoid legality. You just see Linda standing up. The whole stadium just goes nuts. And then just the greatest crotch shot in history. Linda just kicking Vince right where he needed it. And then Shane doing a coast to coast, winning the whole thing. And then, of course, the second of the 3 trilogy matches, I guess we'll say, between Rocky and Austin. Great ending, great finish. This ending wise could have been a lot better, but that's another debate for another time.
Okay. I have something similar on my list, but do you think maybe a whole pay-per-view would be too much?
I mean, we all collectively believed that from start to finish is just pretty amazing to watch. And as I said, it is the height of the Attitude Era that just made the company just look phenomenal. And I think they would enjoy it. I will believe it, and I'll try to keep them invested, and they'll probably give me a great idea to what I should have or what I could have expected during the Attitude Era. Which again, I was sheltered from parents that didn't want me watching wrestling.
Because I agree with you. I just worry that whenever they get to a filler match, the person being like, "Okay, I'm tired of this. Let's move on."
I would fast forward through fillers.
Yeah.
I could skip it. I mean,
that would be my that'd be my only fear. Would be.
I mean, I could say the same with WrestleMania 23. Is I like that whole pay-per-view from start to finish, but considering one competitor fighting for the United States Championship, we'll just skip that one. It was MVP versus him.
That'd be my only thing was if you try to show them a whole pay-per-view, maybe because there's kind of no because I've had this before trying no it gets better the next match there's 3 matches after this, they're so much better, just stick around. And then once they've sat through something they don't want to see. It's like, okay, and then you've already lost them. That'd be my only real fear.
And that's true. But well, we'll see. I hope maybe like the first few matches gets them invested. And yeah, obviously, Mania's today is a 5-6 hour slugfest, and everyone gets tired after hour 3. So yeah.
All right, CJ.
So for where are we at? Number 8, I'm going to go with Shawn and The Undertaker at WrestleMania. You can go with 25 or 26. Personally, I think 26, WrestleMania 26 is better since it's the streak versus career. But the real imagery is coming from, the real imagery is coming from 25. So, like, just at this point, you got to just, like, asterisk by me and say, like, look, I've already talked you into a whole day of watching what I want you to watch on this list. So, you I've talked you into it. You're invested. You're going to be watching more than one match. You're not going to necessarily watch the whole show, but we're gonna watch 25, and then we're gonna watch 26, and then you're gonna be a really big fan of The Undertaker like me. Okay, great.
Yeah, more on that later.
Figured. I wanted to like cut him for once. Scoop.
My number 3 is what actually hooked me into wrestling. It is WrestleMania 10, specifically the Bret Owen match, the Shawn Razor ladder match, and even though it's not a great match, but just kind of like with how the story progresses, Bret and Yokozuna at the end. I mean, it's what made me a wrestling fan. I probably didn't connect with what they wanted me to because I ended up liking Shawn Michaels and Owen Hart, who were both, baddies at the time, and I don't mean part of Jade Cargill's club, but like the first match with Bret and Owen, where little brother catches big brother. That's just a great match, and then the ladder match. I mean, we did a whole watch along with this. This was just amazing. Shawn jumping off a ladder, and I thought that was cool. And then the ending was, well done with Shawn. His recklessness getting the better of him, and he getting tied up in the ropes, allowing Razor to get both the belts. And then, like I said, the Yokozuna and Bret match is not a wrestling masterpiece, although it was good. Because Bret Hart just can do. Bret's one of those guys that can do those sort of things. But to me, it's kind of the very end where, Bret wins the title. The locker room's coming out to celebrate with him. And then here comes Owen, and, like, Macho Man's holding the rope down, going like, hey, come in, help celebrate with your brother. And Owen just looks and goes, you can see him mouth, what about me? Kind of keeps that whole story going with, Owen, he finally, got his big moment and, got out of Bret's shadow by beating him. But at the end of the show, Bret's still the guy. And nobody's talking about Owen anymore. And Bret's still the guy. And I'm hoping that would hook them enough to want to watch King of the Ring, where Owen wins King of the Ring, and then the subsequent cage match with Bret and Owen at SummerSlam. But I'm not going to put all that on there. I'm just going to say, hey, here's this to kind of get the table set.
Just a real shame that Owen would never become champ. But now, if you want to see my reaction of WrestleMania 10, I did a watch along with Geek that you can find.
Yes, there's a whole episode dedicated to this one.
I was gonna say you could consider me, a noob to watching this first run through, and honestly, I will give my reaction. You gotta go check that out.
So now we are to.
All right.
We are to number 7.
Yeah. But funny enough, I was almost thinking about putting WrestleMania 17 as a number 7, but there was one pay-per-view which I kid you not, this was the very first wrestling pay-per-view I had ever attended. All In. Now, I'm only going to say the whole show was awesome, especially that this is basically the beginning, the heartbeat beginning to what would eventually become All Elite Wrestling. And it was this show, and it all started from a bet that Dave Meltzer didn't believe that a non-WWE wrestling pay-per-view could sell out 10K. Cody said, we'll take that bet. So Cody and the Young Bucks, they created All In, and we didn't get 10,000 fans. We got 11,000 fans for this show. So I'm at least accurate with the numbers. But whole show, I think, from start to finish is awesome, minus two matches, mostly because of the background behind certain people. We'll just keep that under wraps. Hangman, Joey Janela, and I tragically have to say this, Okada versus Umbrella Man. So great matches, but again, just the background in real life is just not heartwarming at all. But some of my favorite matches in there, especially the beginning, where we are all introduced to the world's most punchable face, MJF, getting his ass kicked by Matt Cross. Christopher Daniels had a pretty good match with a certain actor that maybe our non-wrestling fans might have liked, Stephen Amell. So, not bad match. I was more happy that Daniels won because he is the fallen angel. This match, I would also say I'd kind of skip over, mostly because there was just nothing personal on the line for this. Was the four-way survival match between Tessa Blanchard, Dr. Britt Baker, Chelsea Green, Madison Rayne. It's just like, that was my filler match. It was like, there's nothing on the line about this, but I knew at least about Madison Rayne because beautiful people and she's just awesome. And I'd heard some good things about Dr. Britt Baker, and then she would also turn into one of AEW's greatest heels. And Tessa Blanchard, the less said, the better. But obviously, like, my match tonight also tugs on the emotion part was Cody Rhodes against Nick Aldis for the NWA World's Heavyweight Championship. Now, this belt in particular, I believe, has more pinnacle value than whatever WWE, New Japan, or even AEW.
Oh. Folks, hang on. We have lost signal.
I don't know what it is.
There we go.
Yeah, we
Are you all good?
had a little bit of a technology malfunction, but
Okay.
you're talking about the NWA title when it cut out.
Yes. Are we still recording, or do I have to start over?
Just go on. The NWA title had more pinnacle value than all the other belts.
Okay. So, in the magical editing powers of 3, 2, 1. I
No,
believe
this is all in there still.
What?
No, it's still in here still, guys. We're good.
God damn it. All right, so the NWA World Heavyweight Championship, I believe, has more pinnacle value than any championship belt that New Japan, WWE, and even AEW can come up with. Like, this is the 10 pounds of gold. This is often, the one major championship belt that you win on the indie circuit or back in the glory days of pro wrestling. Like, this was the belt to win. And to witness it in person was just phenomenal. And the whole match was just freaking emotional. Like, Brandy taking a fall for Cody and Nick Aldis being led to a "you sick fuck" chant. And Cody just winning it, like, just on a sheer, I think it was like a roll-up or something. I can't remember. And the whole place just goes nuts. Everyone's like just in tears that, like, holy shit, Cody just won a championship that his father had also won. And I don't know if this was just a small little Easter egg, but I think he won it on the same day that Dusty had won it at some point. I don't know if it was that or something.
Well,
but
a quick Google search will help us with that
maybe,
one.
yeah. But anyways, that match is just all emotions all around. And there were also some great matches as well. Jay Lethal fighting Flip Gordon, and that was just awesome. Kenny Omega against Penta El Zero was also great. And the main event may have been a little bit rushed because they were a little bit short on timing, but still, it was good. But the post show, I guess, was honestly just great because everyone was knowing that we can do this again. And it is, I came in English today. As I said, like, Bucks were just saying, like, can we do this again? Can we do this weekly? And again, it gave us the sparking idea that there can be another alternative source for great wrestling. And that is when January 1st, 2019, All Elite Wrestling was born. And my only complaint is, can we please just move all out to another venue, please? I mean, I like Sean. The arena's fine and all, but please, can we go somewhere else? Please, just letting everyone know. Sorry, off
Um,
topic.
do you feel like, as great of a show as that is, and it's where I met you, it was a magical show. Do you think that, because even me, I did not include all of All In because part of me feels that maybe it's a little too, I don't know if niche is the word, but it's kind of like you'd had to
Know
have
what's
kind of
going on in the background.
you'd kind of
There's
had to have been able to been a wrestling fan and kind of went through the tribulations of, well, all we got's WWE, and then maybe been an indie fan, or known about Cody kind of getting the
well,
shaft and doing his
okay.
thing, and known about the Bucks and known about New Japan and all that, and known
For
about
all this, like,
BTE.
let's just say hypothetically, I'm trying to introduce Haley to this. Like, I would like still explain her some little background. And I would tell her, like, this was a great alternative to WWE. Like, some people had wanted it for a while, or some people had thought, what if there was another competitor for WWE, if it could have even happened. Like, I just say, like, this here is just watching great wrestling. Whether or not you know any of these people, but especially when you think back to, if we still have AEW still going the great distance, that you look at this pay-per-view and you see, oh, hey, this guy, like, he was on AEW, or hey, this guy joined AEW, and, oh, hey, it's MJF. What the fuck is he doing here? But, yeah, but anyways, like, I would still give them some context to, like, this was a show that we were trying to prove doubters wrong. Like, how we had a fucking convention for the show. Tickets were sold out and nobody even knew what was going to be on the match card, because we just had some great expectations that we were here to watch a great wrestling show.
Uh, just a little. Dusty
Who's
Rhodes
recording
did
it?
not win the title on September the 1st.
Okay,
He
but
won.
He had won it before,
Yeah,
obviously.
he won 3 times.
Oh, yeah.
He had won it on August 21st, 1979, June 21st, 1981, and he won it for the final time on July 26th, 1986. So,
That's very interesting.
but
I
still,
wonder if he ever won it on. It was one of those dusty finishes where he technically didn't win the title.
that's true too.
Maybe.
That is not in the history
There's
that
a
I
lot
found.
of those.
Yeah, it's true. So CJ, what is your number 7?
7. So my number 7 is from this year. It is Cody and Seth at Hell in a Cell. And I've actually used this match. I've got a couple people at work that are very interested in the guy with the neck tattoo on the show about the wrestling. And that is literally how they ask me about Cody Rhodes and Brandy at this point. It's the guy with the neck tattoo and the hot girl he's married to.
Now, do they like the neck tattoo or no?
They're kind of ambiguous to the neck tattoo. It's just a very defining feature. Because if they just say the blonde wrestler, I'm like, Cody,
Which
Dusty,
one?
Flair. Like, you're gonna have to be more specific. And the neck tattoo is very specific. It's also a detail that they remember very, very well. So kudos to Cody. If you were trying to be mainstream, that they remember him. But now they also remember him because they have seen most of this match and they didn't hate it, especially because of there's an undeniable real story. I think that this match brought a little bit more realness to that fake shit that you watch on TV every week, which is another verbatim quote that I hear from some people when I do try to introduce them to wrestling. They watch this match and it's undeniable. That's not paint. That's not makeup.
Right.
That's an actual injury. I have trainers that I work with that also are like, yeah, that's exactly what that looks like. That's dangerous. That can do like that has to hurt. This has to, even if it's not real, that has to hurt. And so watching all of the pain and torture that Cody goes through in this match, they they seem to be drawn into it. So I had to include this one in the list because this does I have seen this produce a couple of results. I have not yet produced a full on wrestling fan, the likes of us, but I think that you're born with that. They watched this match in its entirety and they didn't hate it at all. So win for Cody and Seth, and it needs to be on the list.
Very good. My number 7 is Bret Hart versus Stone Cold Steve Austin from WrestleMania 13. Just it's a perfect story with, you know, you have the you know, a no nonsense, doesn't care about anybody, you know, at the time, bad guy versus the, you know, I'm here to do what's right. I'm here to, you know, teach bad people like Steve Austin a lesson, good guy like Bret Hart. And they have an amazing match. It's a submission match. Um, where just they, you know, the action's incredible, and then the very end of it where Austin is busted open, gets put in the sharpshooter. He's in the sharpshooter forever after, you know, he's being tortured. The blood's run down his face. There's that iconic image of the blood running into Austin's teeth that always just always sticks with me. And by the end of the match, you know, you're you respect the bad guy because he had no quit in him and took everything that somebody had to give to him and still didn't quit. He passed out from the pain, and Ken Shamrock was the special referee, and he had to stop the match. But Austin still didn't quit, and then, you know, Bret Hart, you know, people respected that, and then people didn't respect Bret Hart, who, you know, cried and complained about it, and, you know, kind of took shortcuts, and, you know, it was a double, you know, but by the end of it, there was a new good guy and there was a new bad guy in the WWF at the time, and yeah, it was the beginning of, you know, 1 year later the Austin era would begin with Stone Cold winning the World Championship, but like, you trace that rise to this match, and, you know, maybe that could stick with some people, you know, to want to check out more wrestling, more people like Stone Cold. You know, if they're not watching the current proc, you know, they may want to go back and watch all the cool things Stone Cold did after seeing that match. So we're at number 6 now. Easy.
Sorry, I remember my mic was muted, so I let you talk. Okay, sorry. Me, number 6 would be Mankind versus The Undertaker in arguably probably one of WWE's greatest matches of all time. So just picture this. Sicily, 19... Oh, wait, sorry. Picture it. So this is June. I was literally just looking at the calendar. What did it say, Jay? There we go. June 28th, 1998 at Civic Arena in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And just one of the most insane matches ever. You got Mankind and The Undertaker with... Beforehand, like, they had a very big, long history between these two, including the first ever Boiler Room Brawl. And I really don't know what more to, like, describe it in words, but it's one of those you just need to watch this, and it's one of those, like nail-biting matches that you're just watching and seeing, like, what the hell's going on. And then just the iconic moment of The Undertaker just throwing fully from the top cage, and Jim Ross literally thinking we just killed a man on live TV or pay-per-view, whatever. And also just the commentary is just incredible. The match is just awesome. And then once again, fully looking like we're about to break every bone of his body, Taker throws him through the Hell in a Cell cage. And this is just one match where it's like, I just have to show you guys in person just how nuts this whole thing was. And just one of those moments where you're like, how is Foley still walking? How is he even still alive to this very day? Because like I got introduced to Mick Foley not from WWF or WWE, whatever, but I got introduced to him from one of my all-time favorite cult following shows called Robot Wars, and the U.S. version was Robot Wars Extreme Warrior. That's how I knew him from. And then I heard, oh, he's a wrestler in WWE, and I'm like, oh my god, it's like that's the guy from Robot Wars. Because again, I'm a 5-year-old kid. What am I supposed to know? But so, anyways, with his Mankind gimmick, it's just unbelievable. And I would also like to throw in there Mankind beating The Rock to winning his first WWF championship because that made sure to put a lot of butts in the seats, if you know what I mean. But
The only thing that I would ask about that match is kind of the same thing I asked about the Brock Lesnar Roman Reigns match. Do you think that like maybe they would go? Would you be worried that maybe they would see like just a regular wrestling match and be like, so why didn't anybody get thrown through a top of a cage this time, and why wasn't there thumbtacks? And that would be kind of like my only real um.
Well,
I
That's
guess, like, again, I'm just trying to show them like the hardcore fiascos that pro wrestling can do, just all the risks that these guys are taking.
okay.
So
wouldn't you
again,
be worried that people would ask why aren't there ladders in other matches once you've shown them Shawn and Razor?
Well,
I'm sure.
I was
Oh,
hoping
that's
I'm hoping
true.
with Sean and
I
Razor
thought
that
you were
they're
asking me for a moment.
No.
well with Sean and Razor. I'm also showing them Brett and Owen, so it's kind of like they get to see here's ladders,
Where's the
here's
ladder in
regular.
this match?
And
Yeah.
also consider the fact that this wasn't even a main event match, but this is the only thing people remember from King of the Ring was not the pay-per-view, just this match alone. That's just
Yeah, no one remembers who actually
how
won King of the
legendary.
Ring, and no one remembers that Kane won the WWF title. They remember that. It's not a bad
Exactly.
choice. It's not a bad choice. It's not on my list, but and
And
the only
what's
reason it's not on
interesting
my
is,
list is because of the just being worried that people be like, okay, well,
and
I don't like this Kenny Omega Brian Danielson match because there's no like that would be my only fear.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
But I mean, there's certain matches that, like, obviously, I'm not wanting them to see all the blood and the guts and all that fun stuff. Like, there's like some great matches that are just your good old fashioned fighting, and then there's just the hardcore moments like this one. And what's interesting when I was reading up on this, just doing some quick background, was the following night on Raw, no one ever mentioned this match, which was odd. It's like, right, this is like one of the most insane Hell in a Cell matches ever. How the hell did nobody talk about it? But I don't know whether it just started getting a huge following. I don't know. This is your era, so I don't know what you guys probably thought of it. But when you look back into like Mick Foley's career, like many people will think his Mankind gimmick, and especially the first thing that they talk about is his Hell in a Cell match. That's all it. Even though he had lost, like it is still like probably one of his best moments in his career, or maybe second best with him winning the WWF Championship.
Okay. It's a good choice. That was just the only concern I would have is just kind of maybe it was so much that people would think that, well, if it don't have the weapons, then is wrestling good? Then that'd be my only fear.
Yeah, I suppose.
But CJ, what's your number 6?
My number 6 is Eddie Guerrero versus Rey Mysterio at Halloween Havoc 1997, which is arguably one of the best wrestling matches that has ever happened. This was title versus mask, and it was actually supposed to be the time that Rey Mysterio was unmasked. This almost made Rey Mysterio breach his contract, of course, with a newbie. We're not going to talk about all that. Although I probably would emphasize a lot about how much the Luchador mask meant to Rey Mysterio. I would also have a conference call with Tony Khan, Andrade, and Penta about this same subject because they seem to forget as well. But this was a really big deal, and it was a really fantastic match without like crazy gimmicks and everything else. It was a very straightforward thing. It was a wonderful match. I think it holds up really, really well, with two of the best wrestlers of our generation. Um,
Isn't this
everything
on a
else,
Rey Mysterio DVD collection? Sorry to interrupt.
I'm sure it is.
It's on
Say,
the
I
it's
have
on
the
an Eddie collection if it's not on the Ray.
okay, because I
It-
own the Biggest Little Man. I'm trying to remember whether this was in the match or not.
I would be surprised if it wasn't, because honestly, um, this when we go to wrestling events, and inevitably this conversation comes up, standing in a line at indie shows or pay-per-views or TV tapings alike. um, Longtime wrestling fans always have the debate, like, what's your favorite match, or what's the greatest match of all time, and I almost always hear this match come up from someone. It's not my favorite match of all time, which is why it's here, but I can't argue with its integrity. I can see why a lot of people choose this. Eddie is one of my favorites. Ray's Ray is more often the person that people like the most. Eddie, I had a real soft spot for Eddie Guerrero, so I
Hey,
love it. It's not my favorite, but I love it, and I
question:
think
Has
it'll.
has Mysterio ever been a heel? If
Briefly in
Yeah.
WCW when he was unmasked.
Yeah,
okay.
because
Much
he
later
does
on.
get unmasked eventually in WCW, and then when the company closes, he goes home for a while, and he's a heel in real life. And you can watch the biography on that. But
It's
he does
really
come
funny
back.
that as of now, the first Mysterio to become a heel would be his son.
Yeah.
Which, yeah,
Pretty decent
little.
storyline, really, but
Yeah,
Okay.
but that's probably not a hook new fan storyline. But
Yeah,
no.
ironically, this is
definitely.
also my next match. I agree with everything you said. I like the thing that really helps to me would help it be a good match for a new fan is Mike Tenay on commentary, because Mike Tenay is such, they called him the professor. He knows so much about wrestling history and the culture of wrestling and different places and from different time periods. And Mike Tenay really talks about the importance of a luchador having a mask, and you know why that's important, what can become of a luchador when they lose their mask, and everything that's great about this match. Being mask versus title and this, that, all those things are true. But then you have such a good commentary team and a good person, because when you watch something with someone that doesn't follow it, well, what's this? Well, why she care about his mask and all that? Well, Mike Tenay is on commentary to tell you why he cares about the mask, why it's important, why this could ruin his career if he loses his mask, and all those different things. And the action's great, the story's great. Um, you hate to put over Eric Bischoff, but one of the things he said he was always big on was establishing the stakes, and the stakes were high in this match, and that point is explained to anybody, whether they're a wrestling fan that's kind of jumping into the wrestling boom that was happening at the time, and maybe wasn't aware of the culture of lucha libre wrestling, or in this case, if you're a brand new fan that just wants to know what's the big deal about him taking his mask off. That's why I would pick this match. So we are halfway through now. What is your number 5, Easy?
All right, so for my number 5, we're gonna go back with this rivalry you mentioned earlier. Oops. Oh no. Okay, I thought my Mac was muted again. All right, so for my number 5, Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania 31 with the Seth Rollins cash-in. And this got me back into, I guess this was my third wave into following WWE, and just witnessing this on a pirated stream. Well, I'm a college kid. What do you expect? Just watching this and just having my mind blown, like, holy crap, what just happened? So obviously this would have to take some explaining to do for newbies wondering, what's he doing? Why does he have that briefcase? Well, again, that would be a whole other subject for another day. Otherwise, I probably would have put Money in the Bank 21 or Money in the Bank WrestleMania 21 in this, but anyways, I would still at least explain to them how it works. But Seth Rollins just like cashing in on what was a bit of a slugfest of Brock Lesnar just tossing around Roman Reigns and everyone just loving it because nobody wanted Roman to win the Royal Rumble, period. But it's just what I like here is just expect the unexpected. I know it's a very, loosely cliche term here, but this was literally a expect the unexpected. No one had ever cashed in a Money in the Bank contract at WrestleMania, so we'll put that out there. And for Rollins to do this, it just really it just set off his career big time since breaking up with the Shield. And this was him just truly on his own, obviously with some backing behind the Authority. But the match itself is like, it's fine. It's pretty funny. Again, watching just Brock just toss around Roman. It's just the ending is just perfect. And I talked about this on my top 10 WrestleMania matches of all time. This is my number one, especially for the ending wise. It's just perfect, and I love it. Rollins may be the bad guy in this, but he was sent off as a hero for this. And then the following night on Raw, Brock Lesnar literally wanted to murder everybody.
The only you kind of addressed the only concern I would have would be like
trying to explain the cash in.
Yeah, trying to explain the cash in. Maybe that might be too much at once. But yeah, I see what you're saying. CJ, what's your number 5?
So my number 5, we kind of already discussed a little bit. It's down at 5 because of the age and because I understand that it probably couldn't hook as many fans as it did for me. But it is my it's my .00. It's my spot in wrestling history, and it is the Flair Steamboat 3 matches of 1989.
Hey everyone, sorry for the abrupt ending, but during this part of the podcast, and while we were recording, there was some audio and connection issues, so we decided to kind of just stop this one for now right here, and we will continue on with the rest of our list next week. Thank you all for tuning in and listening. We hope you're enjoying it so far. If you enjoyed, please give it a like, share, and subscribe, and we will conclude our list next week on the Geeking Out podcast.